So I'm going to go ahead and call the regular meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency for February to order. And I want to remind everyone that pursuant to Governor's Executive Order N29-20, members of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency and staff are participating in this meeting via teleconference. To reduce the spread of COVID-19 to members of the public are asked to watch the meeting live stream at westsacramento.org flood control. And if you had any comments to submit on the agenda or other matters, to provide them in writing by 8 a.m. Today, February 18th, 2020. So with that, I'll open the meeting. Could ask the clerk if she'd please take the roll.
Okay. Director Alcala.
Hi, Jen. Yes, I'm here.
Hello?
Jen, can you hear me?
Okay, great. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Director Ledesma, which is absent, and Chair Ramos.
Here.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a quorum. We'll move on to our first item, which is public comment from items not on the agenda. Have we received any public comment today?
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. Report out on closed session. Council.
Good morning. This morning, the board met in closed session on the two items listed on the closed session agenda and took no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Item 1C, monthly year-to-date revenue and expenses report.
Good morning, members of the board. I'll be reporting out on December 2020. In our O&M Fund 870, the beginning balance was $871.8 thousand. There is no revenue, and expenditures were $19.65 thousand. Fund 870's ending position was $852.1 thousand. In our CIP Fund 871, the beginning balance was approximately negative $492 thousand. There's no revenue, and expenditures totaled $616.93 thousand. Fund 871's ending position was negative $1.109 million. Looking at the year-to-date position, the combined cash position among the three funds was $1.78 million. As of February 2021, the agency's combined cash position was approximately $3.59 million. The agency received its first installment of revenue assistance in the amount of $2.53 million. Staff is still working with the state on quarter 38 for approximately $1.41 million, and also for a partial retention release from the Southport project in the amount of $6.89 million. And so it was originally 7.1, but we're going to take out the interest from Fund 257. That's why that amount now. And we expect to see both requested amounts to arrive next month in March. And with that, I have nothing else to report. Please let me know if you have any questions for me.
Any questions? Okay, I have none, so thank you for the report. Item 1D was board appointments and reapportionments and or reappointments. And because we do not have the full majority of the board, I think it would be proper to go ahead and continue this item to our next regular board meeting where we can have a more complete discussion. So do I need to make a motion to to continue this?
Yes, to drop it from the agenda for inclusion in next month's agenda.
Okay, so that's my so move to drop it now and bring it to the next meeting. Do we have a second from Director Alcala?
Yes, you have a second.
Thank you. I would just say that motion carries since that is the unanimous choice of the people here today. So
Do we still need to
we'll
call?
move on to, we can call the roll.
Director Alcala,
Aye.
Chair Ramos.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next order is our consent agenda with 3 separate items. One would be considered the minutes from our prior meeting. If anyone has reviewed or has any comments on it. Hearing none, I would make a motion to accept the consent items as presented.
I'll second.
Been first and seconded to approve the consent agenda items. Can we do a roll count?
Director Alcala,
Aye.
Chair Ramos.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On to our regular agenda, which is the WSAFCA project updates.
Thank you, Chair Ramos and board members. I'll go over a few of the highlights from this month's report. I think for the Southport project, really the only work that's continuing in earnest is staff. Mr. Dirksen is still working with the resource agencies on the mitigation crediting agreement for all of the restoration plantings in the offset areas. And with that is he's working through the need and instrument for a funding of the long-term O&M through some type of endowment or other vehicle. And at this point, I think staff plans to bring an item to the board next month in kind of a workshop format to go over what the apparent options are and solicit feedback from the board on how they might like to proceed as we continue down that path and getting the full credit or the maximum credit we can for all of those plantings that we did in the offset area. And then on to the federal project. Our design team is working in earnest to complete the 100% design deliverable. It's being a little bit hampered right now. Our lead design engineer for MGE lives in Texas and is working remotely, and he's been without power now for several days. So he's been unable to work and or transmit documents for internal technical review. So I'll be checking in with the design team at the end of this week to see where we stand. Hopefully it won't cause a further delay in the design submittal, which right now 100% design is scheduled to be delivered on March 12th. So we'll know a little bit better into this week. And I think I've reported before what has caused the delays. Originally, the design package would have been completed in February. This late addition of the pump station in segment AD and getting all of the electrical specifications and the electronic specifications, the foundation specifications, all of those things dialed in, it just takes time. And so given that there wasn't, which I'll cover in a couple minutes, but given that we don't have a new start for construction, we have the flexibility, to be able to get the design wrapped up and submit it to the Corps. The plan now being 100% design on the shelf, ready to go when we get the new start construction funding. On the environmental side, a little bit of delay on that as well. The Corps, pretty late in the game, decided that instead of separate NEPA and CEQA documents, they wanted to have a combined document, which meant that we had to do, as you saw with one of the staff reports, we needed to do an amendment with our consultant, who is now going to be leading both the NEPA and CEQA sides of things. Good news is we have a little bit more control over the final documents. Bad news is, well, sort of bad news, costs a little bit more, but fully creditable towards the non-federal share of project costs. So it's not wasted or lost resources. And I think right now we're targeting, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but the April timeframe to return to board, well, to conduct a public meeting and then look at certifying CEQA?
Yes, the NEPA side is within the Corps, so we don't control that timeline, and we need their feedback to finish our CEQA side of the process. So it could slip depending on the Corps internal reviews, but if they keep to track and on schedule, we should come to the board in April.
And I think there's a little bit of prolonged consultation with cultural resources that's also feeding this process as well.
Yeah, the SHPO concurrence and the tribal consultations, they need to have those pretty much baked before they can come back to us with the full process. So right now it's on schedule. It could drop depending on internal reviews and the Corps processes.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And again, we have a little bit of a cushion since we're not, trying to get shovel to dirt, by June timeframe or whatever. So that's pretty much it on the design of the next increment. We are working on scopes of work for additional design effort or investigatory effort on the Sacramento River North Levee, and we'll report on that. We'll report out on that as we get farther down the road.
Greg, I did have a question. You mentioned one of the architects was lived in Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah, the designer, the civil engineer.
The designer, right? Is it, since I'm new, I don't know, but why do we go to Texas to get someone? Did he move from here to Texas, or how come we're not hiring local, or at least California?
So our design team is local. Our design firm is local. One of their employees, for whatever personal reasons, have relocated to Texas for a temporary. I think there's a for family decisions. They're there for a period of time, which happens to be right now. And I think his plan is eventually to return to California, but we'll see how that goes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure, we all keep everything local. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. One other piece of the broader federal project I've reported out previously on the economic update. Cost was certified in October by the Walla Walla District of the Corps. The total project cost is now $1.17 billion, some of which has already been constructed, Southport and so forth. And the district is performing the economic analysis, which they will then publish the new BCR. The Corps' economic folks have been fairly preoccupied with issues surrounding the Folsom Dam Raise project. And so it's been difficult getting resources to focus on our economic update. Last report from the Corps was that we were expecting that in the March timeframe. So we continue to bug them. And obviously we're looking forward to seeing that BCR and estimate that it should be 2.5 or better, which would be great news. All right, on to the federal budget and advocacy. It was with a heavy heart that I had to write the sad news that we did not get a new start nor construction funding. The only flood control project in the nation to receive a new start was out of Mississippi. Unlike our project, which has many segments at a cost of over $1 billion, The project that did receive the New Start was a one segment project at under $12 million. It was very attractive to the Corps to be able to award, kind of a one and done, as they put it, project. And that's the way that went. The other thing that factored into the decision, as I understand it, is our project had received the full complement, the Corps did receive the full complement of the PED funding, the design funding, in this fiscal year. And under normal Corps processes, the New Start would come the following fiscal year for us. That would be FY22. And that's the way, as I understand it, OMB looked at it. And as I understand it, that's where the final decision was made to award the New Start to Mississippi.
So Greg, I did have a question.
Yeah.
So we will be able to apply again in 2022?
Yeah, and it's not so much an application process as it is the Corps' budget request process. So Congresswoman Matsui, as you've probably been made aware, and Tom, you may be hearing this for the first time, Congresswoman Matsui sent a letter to the Office of Management and Budget requesting flood, give priorities given to the Sacramento region for flood control projects. And our project, the West Sacramento project, was prominent in that letter. And in fact, she led with that as being her highest priority for a New Start construction and funding in really whatever vehicle is available as soon as possible, which includes if there's any excess funds in the FY21 work plan that can be reprogrammed to any kind of stimulus, economic stimulus package that might occur between now and the next budget cycle. Naming our project with the New Start in the president's budget. And then obviously there's the normal appropriations bill and work plan process. So she covered all the bases. And we certainly appreciate her strong support. I heard yesterday from Holland and Knight, and then confirmed again this morning by Mike Strawn, that the administration is looking at bringing back New Starts, member-directed spending. And they're kind of going, as I understand it, they're going through the rules of what that might look like now. And we're expect to see a sneak peek of what those rules are going to be in the coming week or two. So that may be the vehicle that gets us to a New Start in the coming fiscal year budget process. So I will keep our consultants are keeping their eye to the ground on that. They're communicating frequently, and I'll, especially if this happens, whenever the news comes out, I'll try and communicate via email, what things are looking like. I won't keep people in suspense until the next board meeting. It's pretty important if you do that.
That's a whole new ball game.
It is a new ball game, yeah.
I assume they'll come up with a new name for your marks, but
yeah,
we can. It's needed. I mean, Congress gave up their ability to designate things, and we've seen what happened over this last 7, 8, 9 years of this process. So it'd be good to see a balance come back.
Yeah, and I think the one vehicle that holds the most promise for significant amounts of funding, not just the $35 million for this particular Yolo bypass project for construction, is an infrastructure stimulus package, where my conversations with both district and division staff is they're so upset that we didn't get the New Start this last go around that given the opportunity or request to name projects in a stimulus package, they still, WSAC is the #1 project, and they're going to request full funding, which for the Corps is $650 billion. Excuse me, $650 million.
Right.
And that really opens the door in a lot of ways, but I think most significantly is it unlocks the ability for the Corps to utilize the credit that we have earned through Southport without sacrificing, project delivery. We're limiting project delivery to the annual appropriations of $30 or $40 million or whatever that will take, 10 years to accomplish. When that vehicle presents itself, it's going to be a full court press effort to try and get our project named in that bill, and for as much federal funding as we can possibly get. So,
just to make sure I understand, the idea of bringing back, naming new starts, is that just for this stimulus bill or infrastructure bill, or is this for regular order?
Regular order. The stimulus package would probably be, well, I don't know. I don't have a good enough crystal ball to say what it's going to look like. But if we look at what happened in 2018 with the emergency supplemental bill, a lot of money was thrown at the Corps to prioritize and fund their projects, very similar to how they would go through a work plan process.
Right. So if the name in that package, that would be that'd be key for us.
Yeah. And so that's where we go to work, trying to convince folks that not only do they want to name, in a work plan type of development, not only do they want to name us, but they want to name us with significant funds. Let's see. And I think that pretty much wraps things up on the federal side. If I've left anything out, or if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to address them. All right, then last, under the regional flood management planning, there is a executive committee meeting coming up. I think it's next week. A doodle poll was sent out, and it was kind of last minute, but Tom, I forwarded that meeting invite to you, as WSAFCA's rep to the executive committee. So check your email. Let me know if
yeah, I saw that. I saw that last night, and I should be able to participate. Or I was confused. Are you participating, or are you going to be out? Or
yeah, I'll be there. So it'll be normal RFMP team plus the elected officials.
Okay, very good.
And that concludes my report. Any other questions, no matter how random?
No, thanks so much for the update.
Questions? Okay. That leads us to 5B, which is director's comments. Director Alcala, do you have any comments?
No, thank you. Greg, you're a wealth of information. Really want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank you, Tom, for heading these committees and always, provide an opportunity for, the public to, weigh in on what's happening within our own community. So I don't have any questions at this time. If I do, Greg, I will, I do have a few follow-ups, but I'll go ahead and email those to you. And then perhaps you can address them at the next meeting we have.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if you would like to have a one-on-one or sort of a flood 101 discussion where I can, sort of give you the history of the program and how we got to where we are, feel free to ask, and we'll set something up.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we're trying to keep the public informed. It'll be nice at some point when we can go back and have these meetings in the council chambers and probably see more. At one point when we were first developing the Southport project, we had a lot of public input. So and we worked through it, and it was good in the end. So hopefully we'll get back to that, and as we get back to construction on stuff, we're going to have members of the public that are going to have questions and concerns. So it's they can do it this way, but it's not the same. So,
Tom, I do have a question. I know we have a lot of new development coming up. So have we had conversations with, some of the developers who are planning on building in those areas? I mean, near those areas? Have they been invited to these meetings? Just an FYI.
Yeah, it's when we were doing, putting together our assessments and things of that nature, there was, input and stuff from that. It's really when you have a project that impacts neighboring properties or there is some kind of take that gets involved that, there's concern from not just, development interest, but just current residents and stuff. So that's where when we were in a public, open forum like that, it's much easier for them to come in and express their concerns. So, as far as, development going on, all of West Sacramento is impacted by, the flood potential. So doesn't matter where they're developing in the city, they're gonna have an impact fee and those type of things, but they're basically established now. So, but they have the opportunity to go to us or go to the city council and, work through things.
Okay.
If I can add a little bit, because the staff that you see here, we're all City of West Sacramento staff, many of us with, 20 or more or close to 20 years of experience with the city. Anyways, we work very closely with community development and proposed projects. And so we're embedded in sort of the review and approval process for projects that may come in conflict with or adjacent to levies. And in fact, I often participate with such projects like Yarborough and others where they may need to interface with the Center for Flood Protection Board to determine what limits they have for construction, whether or not a permit is required because they're close enough to the levee. And so those interactions take place frequently as they come up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you, Greg.
The actual floodplain manager is the City of West Sacramento, not WSAFCA. So a lot of that stuff is directed towards different city departments as it comes up. So the only comment that I have, I see Brian there with Tommy Trojan in the background. So he must be a proud alumni at USC or someone in his family. And so I changed my background to University of Nevada, Battleborn with the Fremont Cannon there. And just saying, Nevada plays USC in football in 2023. We're going to go down there and get kicked around a little bit, I'm sure, but we'll give you a good shot. So your motto is fight on. Nevada's is Battleborn, battle ready. So 2 years.
I don't know if we still have our current football coach. You guys might win.
There's a lot of comment about him. I know my brother Dan is USC alum, so they were kind of upset that they won as many games as they did this year. Kind of kept his job for a while, so we'll see.
I'm on my wife's Surface Pro, and she had a Cal background, so the first thing I had to do was change it to this.
All righty. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and we'll get together next month. I'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.